Hello and welcome to Celebrating Simple Life. I'm Kimberly and I've been planning parties and incredible events for the past 15 years. I'm passionate about connecting people, making gatherings purposeful, and making the most out of every moment. Join me as we learn together how to find joy, celebrate the simple things in life, use events to grow your business, entertain with purpose, and have a whole lot of fun along the way. Cheers to Celebrating Simple Life. Hello and welcome to Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast. I have been dreaming about doing a podcast for quite some time now and am so excited to have you join me today on the very first episode. I thought that I would give a little bit of a background and just share my story today because that is really the reason why I feel like I am supposed to be doing this podcast right now, is because I love hearing other people's stories, and it really has taken me many years to understand how all of the circumstances in life happen for a reason, and to take those circumstances and to be able to show the world the good, bad, and ugly of what it means to be human and how to connect with people, how to build relationships, how to communicate more effectively, and how to be an authentic person. And all of these lessons seem to be slammed at me every single day. And I just felt that if I was feeling this way, there were probably many of you that were also feeling this way too. And it has inspired me to want to share my story. And over the next episodes that you will be tuning into on the podcast, you will hear stories of some incredible women and individuals and people who are trying to make the world a better place and who are growing in life and in business. And I just feel really, really grateful that I get to do this and that I get to be in your earbuds or in your car or wherever you're listening to this. And thank you for tuning in. It means the world to me. So I wanted to just backtrack a little bit to not from the very beginning, but as an adult and getting into the event planning career that is the path that I chose. And it was interesting now looking back on it. It was over 15 years ago that I realized that being an event planner is what I wanted to do. And it wasn't an industry at that time. This is back in 2002, 2003, when I had been doing some traveling. I lived in Asia for a year, and really I never had this call or this feeling of what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I admire the incredible Michelle Obama, and she actually said in a live event that I was at where she spoke, she said, "I hate it when people ask kids what they want to be when they grow up, because it just seems like you're pigeonholing them into having to make this decision at such a young age and choose this for the whole entire rest of your life." And I really couldn't agree more, because anytime anybody asked me that growing up, I sort of felt like as soon as I entered high school, there was this feeling of, what's your next decision? What's the next step? Are you going to university? Are you going to college? Are you going to take up a trade or what's your going to do? And it never came across as, what's your passion? What do you feel called to do? It was sort of just, well, we're born, we go to school, we get a job, we grow up, maybe we get married, maybe we don't, maybe we have children, maybe we don't, and then you live your life and you die, end of story. And it just seemed way too cut and dry for me, and I just wanted something more. I knew that I had all of these creative ideas and things that I wanted to do. I wasn't sure how to get there, and there have been so many incredible people along the way in my life who have guided and directed me and listened to my wild ideas and encouraged me to go for them. And so I was traveling in Asia. Like I said, I had taught English there for a year, and it was one of the most incredible years of my life. I met so many amazing friends from across the world who we still stay connected on social media. And I went with a really good friend of mine initially, and we just had the most amazing time there. And I think traveling is just such an important piece of life. And I knew that after graduating high school and going to a year of college and just being kind of undirected in what I wanted to do, that traveling and experiencing something different. You guys, I had never even been on an airplane before when I was 19 and my first flight took me to Taipei. So I really decided to go big or go home, which has been my motto for life. And I've only really recently, and looking back, realized that that's kind of the direction that I've always gone. But I got on this flight to Taipei, and as soon as I landed, immediately wished that I could go home because it was terrifying and so scary to just be in this brand new culture and not know the language. And I really had not done a lot of research. You guys, like if my girls right now, my one daughter Cassidy is 11 and Lucia is 8, and if they told me in a couple of years that they were flying across the world by themselves and had no idea what they were doing, would I say yes? Absolutely. But it would be terrifying. And I was really scared, and I didn't really know what to expect. But day by day, being in the most uncomfortable of situations, and I am quite tall and had really light hair when I lived there, and everything about me looked polar opposite to everybody else that was there, and I was the odd man out. And it's humbling to be in a new culture and a new experience where you're the one getting stared at. You're the one who really doesn't fit in. And I had never in my life been in that type of situation. And it grew me in ways that I could never have dreamed of. And I only look back to that year with such admiration, and the people that I met, and just that country and the people. And it was just the most amazing experience. And so when I came back, it was sort of coming back to Canada in this, I feel like a new person. I still don't know what I want to do. I just, for the survival of life, need to have some type of job or income, and dabbled around in a few different things and just took jobs as needed. And going to university just didn't feel like in my gut what I wanted to do. And I don't actually know how it came to me, but one day I realized that I had been planning events without even really realizing that could maybe be a job for many years. There were birthday parties and occasions that I would plan for family members, and our high school prom grad events I was one of the leaders on the committee for, and just different things. And I realized that really was in line with my skills and my abilities naturally, and it helped me connect people. It helped me bring joy to people. The details and the creativity side of it, of being able to turn a blank canvas of a room into something really special, and to see people's faces when they walked in, all of it were just really important details as to why I wanted to do this. And so here's a piece that will really date me. Opening up the yellow pages of a phone book, and I looked up the first event planning company that I saw in my city, and it happened to be the only one listed that had like a little logo in the phone book, not just text, you all know what I mean. You probably maybe even still have a phone book in your house. We don't. My kids don't know what a phone book is, but that is literally the yellow pages what got me hooked up with my first experience in the event industry. And I'm so grateful that the owner of the company allowed me to come and meet up and sat down and had a coffee with me. And I think now, as I have people who want to do that with me and meet up and have a coffee and chat about the industry, and they're just trying to get their foot off, I most of the time say yes, because I want people to be given the exact same kind of respect and chance that I was given when I was a young know nothing, just excited and passionate to dig in. And I'm really appreciative of that. And I was in the event industry for 10 years and was a part of a really incredible company with really incredible people. And it was the time of my life. I was honestly living the career that I couldn't have ever dreamed that I wanted to. I started doing weddings and moved into marketing events and corporate events and networking receptions and big galas and charity events. And I loved meeting the people that I got to meet. I loved being able to be a part of helping their organization and business thrive because of what I was able to do for them and help bring creativity and a fresh perspective that they sometimes weren't able to see, being so invested in their own business. And it brought me joy, immense joy. And it was incredibly stressful. The work hours of owning a business are more intense than anyone ever tells you, but nobody gets into owning their own business because they don't want to work. And if they do, then they're probably not getting into it for the right reasons. But you'll work harder than you've ever worked in your life. It would have been easier from a work life balance perspective to just find a job and clock it in at 5 o'clock every day and call it a day. But I just knew that that wasn't for me. I knew that my heart wanted more and I was willing to put in all of the work that it needed. And events most of the time aren't happening daytime. They are happening evenings and weekends and after work hours. And so I was running a business with my business partners during the daytime, and then in the evening actually executing the events that were taking place. And it was a lot, but it worked and it was great. And throughout those years, I had both of my girls, and they're 3 years apart. So Cassidy was born in 2008 and Lucia was born in 2011. And it absolutely changed our world forever to have children and to just incorporate raising kids into the mix of life. And it was what I always wanted. It was immensely harder than I ever imagined it to be. And it was a constant daily, I won't say struggle, because it was my life and I loved it and I would never look back on regret on anything, but it was really, really hard, way harder than I imagined it to be. And you're tired and you're not sleeping and you're trying to go to work and run a business. And it just felt like there wasn't any place that I could turn where I didn't feel like somebody needed something from me. And I was exhausted. And I just kept pushing forward because I knew that I loved what I did and I knew that it would be worth it. And I wanted my girls to see me in a career that I loved and doing what I loved. And that was really important to me, that I could have an outlet that was just for me. And that was where I saw myself in my job. And it was hard to juggle it all. And then in 2012, there was an absolute lightning bolt moment when our daughter Cassidy was 4 years old. And she was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And this is a story that I've shared many times when speaking at events and just in my personal life and sharing with people closest to us how this has reshaped my life. And it was the scariest moment of my life. I had a fear as a parent, and I think a lot of people might be able to relate to this. When I was pregnant and then after having the baby, you have this feeling that is just indescribable. It's, you want to protect this human from every possible thing that the world might throw at them. And my biggest fear was having a sick child. And that went through my mind a lot while I was pregnant, because I felt like I was taking on this great responsibility of carrying a baby and trying to do everything that I could to protect it while it was living in my home. And now when it came out into the world, I wanted to do the same. And cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease, and it is a fatal illness. It is life-threatening, and my worst fear as a parent is outliving my children. And for anyone that has lost somebody important to them, or lost a child, or dealt with a diagnosis or something like this, it's everybody just processes it so differently, and you can't ever prepare for how you are going to process absolute devastation. And so she was diagnosed, and my heart was absolutely broken. But there's this little human who is looking to you to guide them and direct the next steps. And she had no idea the severity of what was coming and what the rest of her life was going to hold. And it was really scary. And it was hard for me really to be around her at that time. They would go to daycare every day while I would go to work. And it was easier for me to be at work and to not be looking her in the eyes and allowing my brain to tell myself all of these stories that I really didn't know the answers to. But it was playing a lot of mind games with myself, and it was hard for me to not be incredibly emotional about it. And I didn't want her to be scared. And I know a lot of children don't love seeing their parents cry or be sad. And I mean, we are very open in our family, and we talk about things, and everything is fair game, and we respect each other. And we were as honest with her as we could be for being 4 years old. But I didn't want her to see me in breakdown mode. And so I had to keep my composure around her, and being at work and the distraction of meeting with clients and running a business and still having all of the other things on the go didn't change. And so I really put my all into my work, and really used it as a bit of a band-aid, to be quite honest, for a very long time. And it wasn't until a few months after she was diagnosed when I felt like I could really start having small conversations with people without absolutely breaking down. And I think a lot of people were maybe not sure what to ask or what to say. And for me, to be honest, people asking made it feel better. I am such an open book and so willing to wear my heart on my sleeve and tell my story just as it is without sugarcoating it, that it felt better for people to not be scared or to think that there was things that they shouldn't ask for fear of offending and sensitivity towards it. It made me feel better to ask. And so the people who were my closest people, they just surrounded us with the ability to break down and to feel like it was okay to laugh. And it was a very life-shaping time in recognizing who was alongside with us for the journey. And a couple months later, this bizarre thing happened where I won a contest. And I believe in God, and I believe that things happen for a reason. And I also believe that everybody has their own interpretation as to who or what God is, depending on what you believe, and higher power. And I am just so open to whatever makes somebody feel like they are living into their purpose. And for me, going through this experience, I can't not believe that there is a higher power, because things have been too catastrophic for me to think that there isn't something bigger carrying us through. And there have been too many miracles that have come out of this catastrophe for me to think any otherwise. And for me, things come and go in my life, and I feel like there are times where I just feel like I've been chosen to be able to carry this load, and it often feels way too heavy. But I won this contest, back to that. And I won a trip to Jamaica through a radio station And it was this most bizarre thing. I really don't enter things, that's not my jam. But for whatever reason, I was mindlessly scrolling on Facebook, and this contest that was just the easiest contest to enter. You had to click through to their website, and it took me 30 seconds. And I did it, and I didn't think anything of it. It was like just a click, 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 and wasn't really paying attention and was just being distracted by social media. And a week later, got a phone call that I won. And I couldn't believe it. I had never won anything like this in my life. And it was an incredible, all inclusive 1 week vacation to Jamaica. And we ended up not taking this vacation until a year later. And it was in that moment that we pressed pause enough to take an inventory of our life. And I realized that as much as I loved my career and loved what I was doing, I had to find a new way to find a balance in my life and take care of what needed to be taken care of. And my daughter needed me. And within a few months, took the very difficult steps of getting out of the business that I had worked my entire adult life to get in. And it was a very difficult process, and I really almost don't remember the whole process because I was in such a state of, looking back on it, I almost feel like I was in a state of shock, to be honest. I was really mourning the loss of this career that I had built, and I was only 30 years old at the time. So I felt like, okay, well, I guess I'm heading into retirement now, and I've done my years of service in this industry, and we're calling it a day. And it's hilarious thinking back to that now, but that was just sort of the path I was on. And maybe you felt that way before too, where you just feel like you're coming to this crossroads of something new, and it feels really hard to be grateful for a door closing when there isn't a window opening up yet. And I had to be okay with the fact that for right now, my purpose in life had to be taking care of my two beautiful babies and not allowing her diagnosis of CF to make me bitter. That was something that I had to work every single day. And while I never felt woe is me, and continue to this day to not feel like this was something that I shouldn't have received, somehow, and again, I can just only feel like this was one of these miracles, is that it has always felt like this is just how life was supposed to be. I never thought, oh, if she wouldn't have this, if she wouldn't have this. Of course, I don't wish for her to have this, but I think that this is the life that she was always supposed to have, and that if she wasn't, she wouldn't be here. This is just her. And I have had to use every single ounce of courage and patience and all of the virtues that often don't come naturally to me in order to fight for her and to fight to use this really, really dark diagnosis as a way to bring out the light in her, in Lucia, in my marriage, in my career. And it has been the hardest journey that I could have ever imagined. And the journey continues. And that is partially why I want this to be a place where when you listen to my story, to other stories that are going to be on here, stories that are so beautiful and unique, and there isn't any piece of anybody's story that isn't supposed to be there. And so often I think that it's easy to think that the bad things or the dark things or the pieces of life that feel so messy and complicated and chaotic, that we're trying to just like survive getting out of them in order to get to a place where everything feels great again. And that has been a huge struggle for me in my life. And time and time again, I am reminded that it is in those dark, chaotic, messy pieces where light can come in. And I wouldn't be the human that I am today if this hadn't happened. And while I wish that I could take this disease away from my daughter and take it myself, I would in a heartbeat. But all that I can do and all that I can control is being the absolute best mom, caregiver, and cheerleader to my girls, and taking care of myself and taking care of my relationships around me in order to create the life that I've been wanting, which is to be authentic. And so now, after having a bit of a hiatus in the event industry, and now in the last couple of years, recreating my own business in Celebrating Simple Life, it is the culmination of heartache and new beginnings and grace to myself, and allowing me to realize that the career that I thought that I had to give up forever has now been reinvented in a completely new way. And I hope that as you hear this today, that you are able to take inventory and look in your life and find the dark, messy pieces that either feel like they're on a repeat cycle, or things that have come up unexpectedly, or relationships that are complicated, or just dynamics in your life that maybe you wish were different every day. And I think instead of wishing those things away, to be able to be confident enough to dig into those and to rely on the people around you who are your safe people, who you know have your back no matter what you do, and to really dig deep into those things and to decide if you are walking down the path in life that you should be. And I didn't choose to have this lightning bolt of Cassidy's health come into my life. I think back sometimes, and I would probably still be living life the way that I was before, and it would have been great as well. Like you can't really look back and think, oh man, life would have been so different. It just would have been what it was. But I can honestly say without a shadow of a doubt that I am grateful that this is the unique circumstance that has happened to our life. And I wish that Cassidy wasn't sick. And it is the most unbelievably scary piece of my life because it changes on a daily basis. And I never know what tomorrow is going to bring with her, which makes me, who finds it challenging to live in the moment sometimes because I'm always living 6 months, 1 year, 2 years ahead with projects that I'm working on in work. And that has been a challenge to live in the moment. It has forced me and made me take inventory of my life and look every day and try to find ways to bring joy and to celebrate the little things and to throw parties for no reason. And when I am frustrated and feeling like I'm at my wit's end and trying to get the kids out the door to school and life just feels overwhelming, working on the daily mindful things brings me back and helps me realize that we only get one life and I want to make the most of it. And I'm excited that you get to join me in hearing unique stories and just creative details that I hope will spark joy in you. And we use that term a lot in our family now, ever since watching the Marie Kondo Netflix organizing special, which just makes my heart palpitate because I just love organizing and feeling a sense of calm around where I live, because calm isn't my middle name. I am always on the go and like ready for a good time and find it hard to relax. And it's really things that I'm constantly working on. And so for me, this journey is not, am I an expert in life, but I want everybody's expertise and the people who have gone before me and the people who are in this journey around me to be able to speak into my life and take something from it. And I hope that I'm able to do that for you as well as you listen. So tune in. We'll be back again next week. And I would love for you to subscribe to Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast. If you leave a review, that would mean the absolute world to me. And each week, I will be picking one review that is left and featuring it on the air as a thank you. And you will receive a fun little gift from me just for leaving a review. That helps this show grow, and it really, really means the world to me that you are supporting this journey. So thank you for following along, and cheers to Celebrating Simple Life.